paper there. And then, yeah, that. This is what he wants me to read.
Muriel, do you want some coffee?
No, thank you. Nothing.
Some make the scene.
It's on sale.
Pardon?
It's on sale.
Is it? Maybe pretty soon, but not right now.
Okay.
I gotta get settled down from missing the corner. I was so sure I knew where it was. I even turned one block. I can't tell where it was now. I thought, that doesn't look familiar.
You got about 12 copies of that. Can you sort it out so you get it in writing?
That's what I was trying to do. Go ahead and start asking her questions.
Okay. So, what is your name
Muriel Mosher.
and what is your maiden name?
I was gonna say it's Muriel Morey Mosher,
And when were you born?
1931.
I'll get down here so
Can you-
pointed at the
Oh, yeah, that's better.
Where were you born?
Orland, Indiana,
Orland, Indiana. Where's that?
north of Angola.
Near?
North, near Angola,
Okay.
near the Michigan line.
Okay. And, what year were you born?
1931.
Do you remember the first school that you went to?
Yes, it was in Jackson, Michigan. I started kindergarten.
Now, why were you in Jackson, Michigan?
I don't know. My parents moved there and I went with them.
When did the family move to Jackson, Michigan?
Well, let's see. I must have been 44, maybe. I think I was about 5, between 3 and 5, so, because I started school up there.
Dad, do you remember the move to Jackson, Michigan?
I don't know what year it was. I remember the move. I was 7 years old, I think.
So if you were 7, Muriel would have been how old?
Well, she's 4 years younger than I am.
Okay.
So you can figure that out for yourself.
So I'm not doing math. I'm not gonna take that. So you remember moving to Jackson?
I remember moving to
You
Jackson.
went
I
to school there.
remember just the 1 year of school.
What was the school like?
I have no idea. I don't remember. I enjoyed it because I was young to go to school, but I was insistent that I didn't know that, but Mother said I was insistent, so she took me over to school and they let me start.
And it didn't matter at that time? how old?
Evidently not, no.
Do you remember anything about the school?
The only thing I can remember, we were in a circle with the teacher for, I suppose, story, and I was crying. And she looked at me and she says, "Why are you crying?" The little boy behind me was pinching me.
But you were probably the youngest or one of the youngest.
I had to be.
And so you were sitting
In a circle.
with everybody in the room. So the kids, how old were the oldest ones?
Oh, I don't know, just only 5 probably, because it's all kindergarten.
And were your 2 brothers in the same class with you?
No.
They weren't allowed to go to school, they had gotten in trouble and got kicked out, isn't that right?
It wasn't a one-room schoolhouse.
Okay, it was not a one-room.
No.
And you only remember 1 year after school.
I just remember 1 or 2 days. One time I had to have my underwear pinned up by the teacher. And one time I was rolling a pencil back and forth and I got set into the cloak room to set, because I was rolling a pencil. I'd been naughty.
Nice. So Jackson, Michigan, a year in school, and then what is your next memory of school?
In Fort Wayne, Indiana.
So. the
I went to
family-
Francis Slocum School,
Francis Slocum, where's that?
Northeast,
And do you remember where the house was, where did you move to?
on Lawndale Drive.
I just went by there yesterday, I didn't know that you guys had lived there before. So Lawndale, which was near Curdy's,
Right, block away.
yeah, and so from what Dad told me, shortly after that, you guys all moved to that other house on Curdy's.
Eventually.
Do you know how long you were in the first house?
Not very long, no, I don't. Because I went for Francis Slocum, from there I went down to Forest Park.
Okay. But you remember living in the Curdy's house?
Oh, yes,
That, yesterday when I saw it, that looked like a huge house.
yes, it was.
So, do you remember why you moved?
No? But I do know we had 2 cousins that lived with us for a while,
Oh, okay, who were the cousins?
Jerry and Wendell. And they had a truck company, but it didn't last long. He had to go into service and he went to Cincinnati.
Oh,
but they did live with us for a while.
So that might have been part of the reason that you moved, because you were.
That
taking notes
I could
from
not
the
tell you.
brothers.
I have no idea why we moved. I just went along with the family.
How old do you remember being at that time when you were living in that?
I think it was, I am so confused because I was thinking I was in high school at the time, but I graduated when I was on Anthony, so I don't know. I mean,
So, Dan, do you remember living with your cousins at the Kirby's house?
Yeah, mm-hmm, yes, I do.
So that might have been why you lived in such a big house. It seems so big for your.
Well, that might be.
Do you remember, like, did they have their own room?
yes,
Okay.
we had, four
Yeah.
bedrooms upstairs.
And did you have your own room?
Yes.
And did each of your brothers have their own room?
Jack was there with us, wasn't he? Yeah, and I don't know where the broke.
So, but basically, everybody had their own bedroom.
Oh, yeah, yeah, it was a big house.
And so Gordon and Wendell lived with you for a while?
Jerry and
Jerry
Wendell.
And they were brothers?
Yes,
And who was their father?
Uncle Lloyd and Olive.
Lloyd's boys?
Yes.
Were in some kind of business and lived with
Yes.
you for a short period of time? So they must have been out of high school age?
Yes, because, well, at the time Wendell went into service, so it was at that time. And of course, Jerry was disabled and he could not serve. And as far as I remember, he went someplace to school or training in Cincinnati, and from there I don't know.
Well, I remember Jerry, he had polio?
Mm-hmm. He had polio when they lived in Florida, in Clayton.
So from the Curdy's house, as I understand, you moved to Kentucky, after.
Right.
And do you have memories of that house?
I have to think of Curtis in Kentucky. We moved to
Closer
Kentucky.
the Alabama.
We moved on Kentucky.
And, because I just saw that house yesterday for the first time.
The one on Kentucky?
Still a pretty big house.
Yeah, it was
So you
just
still
a
had
regular
your own-
square house.
And you would have been going to Forest Park,
I was going to Forest Park.
which was just a couple blocks away.
Well, 4 or 5, yeah,
Pretty close.
straight through.
And do you remember how old you were during the years, or how long did you live in that house?
Well, I know I was in second grade. No, I don't. We moved there from,
Trying to suck it
hmm,
up. Trying to suck it.
yeah, we moved there, I don't remember when we moved from there.
So, but in the Kentucky Avenue house, you remember being around second grade?
Yes, yes, yeah, I knew I was, because I have a friend that remembers my coming as a new student because she was supposed to help me.
Okay.
She told me that, I hadn't remembered it.
Okay.
So yes, I was second grade,
So second grade, you would have been.
For a
about
while.
Maybe 7 or 8 years old.
probably.
So those other two houses, Lawndale and Kirby's, the family must have moved within a year or two each time you moved into those houses.
Yeah, it seems like we moved quite often.
And I was asking Dad, he doesn't remember whether your parents were renting or whether they owned those houses. Do you have any memory of that?
I have no idea.
So second grade, and then how long, what grade do you remember when you moved to the Anthony Street house? Because Dad said he never actually lived
And Anthony.
as like a student.
See, I graduated from high school and we lived on Anthony,
Okay.
and that's when he was in service, and so was Jack.
And how long were you at the Anthony Street house?
I don't know, because, was it 2 years? 2 years, I guess. Because
Well,
I remember I worked at a playground, and I lived there, and I graduated from there. Then we moved to North Manchester, and I went to college then.
Okay. So the Kentucky Street house, you started in second grade. Did you stay there a long time at that house?
I don't remember, because then when we moved on, we went back on I mixed up on Curtis and Lawndale.
So as I understand it, from Michigan, you moved to Lawndale, then Curtis.
No. We went from Lawndale to Kentucky.
Oh,
See, because I started school there, and then it was in second grade when we went down to on Kentucky. Then we moved out to
Yeah.
Curdy's.
Curdy's came
Yes,
after Kentucky.
yes, because I was in,
Okay.
I graduated, when I graduated from high school, we were at Curdy's.
Okay, so that one was the longest term place.
probably.
Okay, so Lawndale was a couple years maybe, and Kentucky then a couple years, and then Curdy's for a longer time, so you're both.
Could be longer, because then I graduated when we lived on Anthony, so we moved from there to Anthony, so.
Okay, but you graduated high school when you lived on Curdy.
Mm-hmm.
And do you remember like the other school years, like from sixth grade to high school, were you on Curdy?
When we moved to Fort Wayne, I went to Forest Park.
Yeah,
I stayed at Forest Park until I went to high school, I went to North Side.
okay. But when you were at Forest Park, which house did you go home to? Where, like sixth grade?
Lawndale.
Lawndale,
Mhm.
the whole time?
No. When we
You started
moved,
there, you
then-
were in Lawndale.
huh?
When you were living at the Lawndale house, you started school at Forest Park.
Yes.
Right,
And then they moved to State Street, I mean,
Lawndale.
Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Oh, yes, yes.
And then I went, from Kentucky, I went to, finished grade school, then I went to North Side. And then when they moved, when I graduated, we were living on Curdy's.
Okay. And then, so he graduated and went into the service, and during that time, the family moved to Anthony. And then you graduated from high school when you were at the Anthony
Right,
Street campus.
yeah, they never, he did live there one time, because he had a babysit for me.
Okay. So maybe when he came back from the service.
I don't remember for sure.
Yeah. And then, Jack graduated, he's 3 years older than you?
Yeah. Mhm.
So did he go to Northside also?
When we moved here, he went to Northside immediately. I don't know how possible.
I think so. I don't know, I have no recollection
No.
of Jack.
I really don't know where Jack had to go to Forest Park and then to North Side. Because I remember, because we had relation from Germany, he took German in high school, and I think he flunked the class.
So that's another thing I want to find out about, your German grandparents. You
Grandmother,
remember-
grandmother,
Grandmother.
yes.
So he wasn't your grandfather?
German,
No.
grandmother. He wasn't German.
He was
Oh, he
not,
wasn't German?
no, no,
Oh, okay, so George Jacob
Right.
married.
Dobendick was her name,
Yeah.
Was her first name Emma?
Emma. Well, she went by
Okay.
Emma, she had all kinds, Charlotte and all kinds of
Okay.
names. She really did, but I think some called her Grandma Emma.
Okay, so, how did they meet? Do you have any idea?
I don't know. They homesteaded out west. Where Grandpa came from, I don't know. But he was constable while they were out there, because he would make the statement that if he was riding a horse, and if they saw the Indians, he'd go behind a rock.
Wow. And where was that? Was it Iowa?
Nebraska.
Nebraska?
Yes,
Okay.
And my mother was born
Right.
in Nebraska.
And that's Olive Jacob.
Olive Jacob. Mhm.
So George Jacob married Emma Dowdenby at some point. I have that written down somewhere.
Yeah, well,
Emma, Grandma's was Dobendick.
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay,
that's what she-
okay, I'm sorry.
I'm just pronouncing it
Oh,
differently.
sorry.
Because I always pronounce it Dowdenby.
Oh, well, I didn't,
might be wrong.
no, I don't know.
As I understand it, Grandpa and Grandma each had, what do they call the properties when you?
Homestead.
Homestead.
Oh, okay.
And they're right next to each other. And that's how they met, I believe.
That was our understanding.
Okay, all right, so just by coincidence, they
Yeah.
were given by the government property?
Well, you know, whatever they did, but you had to, you had to get on the property, and you had to work it in. Excuse me.
So,
Now, Grandpa's parents came from Switzerland.
George Jacob's parents came from Switzerland? Okay,
That's all I know about that.
okay,
No, he was born here,
okay.
or in the United States.
And do you remember the two of them, did they both speak German or just?
Just grandma.
Just grandma.
And it was called Low German, I think. They were
Okay.
different
Yeah.
levels of German.
Did she speak English too?
As I know, yes.
So you could talk to her?
Oh, yes.
You remember
She did
talking?
not speak German. I never heard her speak
No.
German.
Okay. And George Jacob was an American, he didn't have
Yeah.
German, he didn't have an accent, but she must have had, do you remember her having?
To my knowledge, I do not remember that she did.
Okay. You
And she
remember-
was, see, she was 16 when she came over.
Wow.
I think I'm right. She was supposed to come over with her brothers. Something happened, she missed the ship. And she came over by herself when she was 16. How she got out the west, I don't know.
And that
Nebraska.
would have been the late 1800s?
Probably.
Probably, yeah,
See, Mother was born in 1895,
someplace in there.
and they were out there then, because I should think he has a picture of,
Yeah,
okay.
the sod house.
Mhm.
Yeah, I have that, yeah.
That's the day she was born.
Okay. Do you have any idea how long they lived out there?
No,
Do you have any idea how old your mom was when they came back? Like, she was born out there as a little girl, she lived in Nebraska.
all right, but I don't know, I do not know when they came back to, I think they came to Michigan.
So you think the family moved back to Michigan, and by then they would have had,
Well, Lloyd was older, but I do not remember anything about him.
and it was just the two of them?
Yes,
And I remember when I was a kid that they lived upstairs from your parents.
right,
On Alabama.
right,
And they were really old, they were in their 90s.
right.
Do you remember the first time around when they would have come to live with you? Was that, in that house, was that the first time they lived with you?
Yes. And I cannot tell you for sure, the time.
And you would have been graduated and moved.
I had graduated and I was in college.
Okay. And
In
Dad,
fact,
you-
I did my, I was still teaching. I mean, started teaching, I was still living there, because my husband was in service.
In Manchester, or at the house? You were living with your parents in that house on Alabama?
Right,
But you had come back from college, you graduated and
Right.
started teaching. And were you teaching at Forest Park?
no, but I lived just a block from there. No, I was out, Ward School out south.
Okay. And Dad, do you remember, when, did you ever live at the Alabama Street house? When you came
I don't
back from
think
the
so.
service?
No, they lived in the state, they lived on State Street, I mean Anthony,
Anthony.
yeah.
Okay.
I lived there until I got married.
At the Anthony Street house?
Mhm.
Okay.
And Jack lived there too, didn't he?
Hmm?
Jack was there too, wasn't he?
Yeah,
So how old were you when you got married?
23,
So that would have been 1949?
yeah. Mhm.
So as of 1949, your parents were living on Anthony Street?
Mhm.
Okay. So they must have moved, and I was born in 1952, so sometime shortly thereafter, they would have moved to Alabama Street from Anthony. Maybe when all the kids had moved out, they moved to
Yeah,
that house.
it must, yeah, it must be.
No, they moved to North Manchester from Anthony.
Hmm?
They moved to North Manchester from Anthony. Mother and Dad moved to North Manchester and bought a store over there
Oh.
when I was in college.
Okay.
Then they moved over there,
So you went to college in North Manchester?
yes.
And they kind of followed you and bought a business?
Yes, they bought a store downtown and, yeah,
Okay. What kind of store was it?
a gift store on
See,
Main Street.
when Grandpa Morey died, they got an inheritance, and they had, that's why they bought that business.
And what was his name?
Grandpa Morey,
Nora.
Norris.
Nora.
Norris Moore. And
Norris.
Jack was named after him, Norris Jack Moore.
Norman,
Norman.
Jack was named.
Norman Jack,
Morgan, yeah.
but he went by Jack.
So no part of his name was Jack?
Pardon?
No part of his name was Jack? or
Yeah, it was his
Norman
name,
Jack?
it was his
Okay.
middle name, but he went by Jack.
I would suggest that you sit by the microphone.
Well, I'm trying to get kind of close.
Oh,
to
I'm
it without
sorry.
getting in front of it.
Yeah, well, you can sit there, doesn't matter, because.
Either
they're
that
not
or you
gonna-
come over here.
Yeah, they're not gonna be able to hear your question, so it's,
We're doing all right.
So, your grandfather, your father's father's name was Norris.
And I think his middle name was J, Norris J.
Okay, J-A-Y or just J?
I think it was the A-Y.
So, he died and left some money to your parents.
Yes,
Do you think that's what happened?
yes,
And that's why they had enough money to buy a business?
Correct.
And they moved to North Manchester at that time? Perhaps because you were the youngest, you had just moved out and the two boys were gone, so they didn't have any.
Well, see, Jack ended up going to North Manchester to work with them, Jack and
did?
Sheen. So Mother and Dad lived on Mill Street. I lived there. Then when they lost the business, they moved to the apartment upstairs, so I lived up there, so. And then, when they had to leave, then I moved in with Jack and Jean and finished college.
Still in North Manchester?
Yes.
So Jack and Jean met in North Manchester?
No, they lived in Fort Wayne for a while. They moved over there.
Okay.
Their children were born there.
Okay.
Jack and Jean met when he came home on leave, and they had
USO dance.
and that's
That's
where he
right.
met.
So that would have been in the mid-40s, early 40s?
Someplace in there, yeah.
Well, Mother and Dad worked there at the
Did they
USO when they had dances for the service.
Yeah.
But that's how he met Jean.
Okay.
They were pretty good dancers.
What business was your dad in while you were growing up? Do you remember what he did before?
Have no idea, well,
Well, let's
yeah, go
start
ahead.
back to what I remember. He and my Uncle Lloyd, or our Uncle Lloyd, they had a little business downtown, farm something.
In Fort Wayne?
No, in Orland.
Or-
We're back up to Orland.
Okay.
And then, in the wintertime, they sold ice. They cut ice and put it in a building, and then in the summertime, they sold it.
Okay.
And then they decided to go into the trucking business, the Orland Trucking Company. And they sold out to, what was the trucking company's name?
OIM.
OIM, no, after that,
OIM's probably Ohio, Indiana, Michigan.
yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, but that's not.
Anyway, that's when we moved to Jackson, because they joined this other company, and the dad was moved to Jackson, and Uncle Lloyd had to go to Chicago.
Okay. So you went to Chicago to go into some other business?
Yeah, same business that Dad was in.
They worked out of both places.
Oh, I see, he was kind of stationed in Chicago.
Yeah.
Right.